following political paid advertisements do not reflect the political opinions of the program or its associates. Any political campaign or candidate who wishes to purchase advertising can do so. Advertising is open to all on behalf of Gloves Off.
With Gloves Off. I'm Professor Withron. I'm here sitting down with Pastor Frank Palmore, and he's running for Texas Senate. And we're going to touch base and see what the campaign's doing and everything else. How we doing?
Doing very well, thank you.
Thank you, Pastor, for running number one. And
Absolutely.
there's a lot of changes going on with a lot of the politics going. You know, people are talking about abortion laws, pro-choice, and so on and so forth. They're talking about the father's rights, equality for both parents, 50-50 parenting, and on also the Second Amendment. And how do you feel about those three little subject matters? Let's start with abortion and pro-life.
It's rather humorous you say those three little subject matters, because those are like three of my primary platforms. However, when it comes to the abortion, my number one thing has been to try to promote, to take the focus off of the abortion industry and put it on the adoption. We have the processes already in the state of Texas through the Child Protective Service, how to make adoption more available to people who don't have the affluent money that many people have. And I would like to see us to quit funding Planned Parenthood and any of the abortion industries and take the monies we've been putting there and put together an adoption program that handles post and prenatal care for these mothers that find themselves with an unplanned pregnancy. And then, hey, you know, we want you not to have to go through the physical and mental trauma of an abortion and place that child, the life of that baby, into the hands of parents who've been wanting a child and can't have one. And as a state, we can help you do that.
Those are great words, but like everything else, everything has to be regulated.
Absolutely.
And abortion has to be regulated. At some point, we have to say this is a legal, deadline for an abortion, or what, 30 days, 40 days. Because once we have that, then you're going to start seeing a lot of back alley abortion clinics. A lot of people crossing the river for an abortion and coming back, and guess what? Then we have a problem.
Absolutely.
And we had a lot of that going on in the back. So things need to be regulated, but you're absolutely correct. I think we should focus a lot more on the adoption process.
And then, like you say, regulating the abortion industry, it boggles my mind that my opponent stood against the heartbeat bill, and my opposing party did not allow that bill to even come out for a vote, because all it said was, if there's a heartbeat, then it's a baby, let's not abort. But they said, no, we can't do that. We're not going to run with heartbeat, and they'll start using all these acronyms and all these different words to try and describe why that's not a baby, even though they detect a heartbeat. And so you're right. I think that one of the great standards we could set early is to bring back that heartbeat bill that wasn't allowed to be voted on, bring it to the floor, and if there's a heartbeat detected, that's a baby. Now, I believe there's baby at conception.
Sure.
However, if you have to have a standard, let's go with that heartbeat. You can't get any more clear that there is a life there when there is a heartbeat.
Absolutely. And, things need to be regulated on everything, from food processing. Why not this as well,
Amen.
So, and it is a medical procedure, so it has to be regulated in some form or another.
Absolutely.
And it's a sad case when you have a lot of people that do not understand the whys. and they just seem to go with feelings, and I think that's the issue with abortion right now.
And that's why we can get so much done from the ASPCA and all for kittens and puppies, because it brings emotional ads to people and pull those heartstrings. But why not for our children? You know, nobody wants to get involved. I shouldn't say no one, but there are many who try to fight those who try to get involved with saving that child.
Absolutely. And as you've been going with the different changing pace, and as you've been traveling each little town and section of your district, what do you see? How do you see the people? What do they mostly want?
You know, it has been eye-opening to me as I travel through the 18 counties, and I'll be honest, I was somewhat apprehensive when I first went to Zapata or Starr County or these counties. People said, oh, you just can't go in there. I see the same kind of people I see whether I'm in Guadalupe, Carnes, Travis. These are people who just want to get up in the morning and know that I can feed my family, go to work, have a great day, and my government's not going to do everything they can to cut my legs out from under me.
Absolutely.
They love life. They love babies. They love the religious freedom. They love the things that made Texas great, that made this country great. But yet then we have these talking heads get on the TV and such about how bad it is and how you can't do this for yourself. Therefore, we as the government need to do this for you. And that's not what people are saying, and that's not what people want. Whether I'm on the border or whether I'm up in Austin, I'm hearing that people are saying, we want our lives back. We don't want the government telling us what we can and cannot do.
Absolutely. And things are going to change. I think people are more vociferous and more educated.
Amen.
Understand? And I think that's why these three little subject matters, or which actually the big subject matters and throughout the country, are up in our forefront.
Absolutely.
And the other one that we have is, especially here in Texas, what I've been seeing a lot of and reading a lot about is parental rights, equal father's rights. You know, a lot of parents get a divorce, and all of a sudden you have a child there, and there's a lot of discrimination towards the non-custodial parent. And I will not say just men or women, because there's some women as well as non-custodial parent. And there's a lot of shenanigans goes through, and there's a lot of pushing goes through, there's a lot of emotional stress. So you have a lot of people fighting for father's rights, parental rights, equal rights for parents, 50-50. I'm for that. And how do you feel about that?
You know, it took two to make that child.
Sure.
And because of that, I think both individuals should have say in the way that child is raised. Unfortunately, I was in a conference just yesterday speaking with others about how our religious freedoms are under attack. And oftentimes, when it comes down to the men and the women within the relationship, like you say, it's predominantly men who are ostracized, but there are some women. But it almost always comes back down to a religious ideology in there as well. Take this case where this mother wants to make her little boy into a girl. Praise God, it got a lot of attention. But you know, that man's still having to fight for his rights over that young man to not become a young lady as the mother wants it to be. And the squeaky wheel gets the oil, and the ones who are yelling the loudest are those who are just anti-religion, anti-common sense in many areas. And we need to put common sense back into the picture when it comes to a mom and a dad, and think about there's two people that should have say into the life of that child, and neither one of them are from the government. They're mom and dad, and mom's not always going to be right, dad's not always going to be right, but bring them together and let them make decisions and choices together. I agree. I think it should be 50%. Now, if someone steps out of that child's life and doesn't even know that child and all of a sudden comes into the picture, well, now let's add a little common sense into this.
Sure.
But as long as that child looks to mom and looks to dad, I don't care if they're on different ends of the country, that young man should have equal say from both parents.
Absolutely, and it is not. Some men have been ostracized. I've talked to several. In fact, I'm talking to one just recently that going through some hardships, and we're trying to, pull him out of that rabbit hole, because he's already going in there. So we have to, help him back out. And I'm going to try to bring forth sometime in May the Texas Parental Rights group, and father's 50-50. And to have a meeting with our constables, with our representatives, I'll invite you, because I'm gonna invite the senator as well, and talk about what is needed. Because a lot of infringements on visitation occur. You know that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And you have a lot of police officers or peace officers that show up, and all of a sudden they say, that's a civil case. No, it's not. They're already infringing on the right. And you have some DAs that say, no, well, we'll do something about it after the 10th trial. Well, 10 times, you see the child twice in one
That's
month,
right.
so 2 weekends. Imagine 10 weekends. It's already 5 months
5 months,
gone the
yeah.
right way.
Half a
and-
year.
Right? So it has to be, we have to deal it a little bit faster. If they're breaking the law, let's deal with it. Let's understand what's going on. And I
Absolutely.
think there needs to be a common core across Texas, because there's some agencies that right away will do something about it, and there's some agencies that prolong it, and some agencies that just say no. And I think there's a lot of trauma, not only to the child, which is more important,
Yeah, right.
but to the parents as well. But let's think about our kids the way they.
And the unfortunate thing, it breeds an ideology of I have no say or control. I'll give up. If the government's going to say you're going to keep me away from my child for half a year, and there's nothing I can do about it, well, not only does that lead that individual into depression, but that depression spreads out amongst the rest of the community, and the community finally says there's no way we can fight our government. When we're supposed to be about we the people. The people should be able to speak to the government. Hey, we have a problem here, and you need to do something to legislate. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And, you're here down where it's early vote, and you're gonna come down here and to Laredo, and this weekend we have some festivities, and I think you're gonna be
Amen.
out there, and
I am.
I hope you enjoy it. I hope Laredo's embracing you as well.
I've had a great time in Laredo, and Zapata as well.
Sure.
I'm having a good time down here. The people have been very friendly and open and welcoming. I just ate at Eduardo's, and I'm thinking, man, this is something. I've had a great time.
Awesome. And back to here, as you can see, we're both hunters. We've talked about this in the past. Our Second Amendment has been attacked dramatically, and I'll break that into two folds. One, the protection of the Second Amendment, and then later on we'll talk about the red flag. How do you feel?
You know, you started this part of the conversation about we're hunters, and that's a great thing, because I do have all my firearms that I use for hunting, and I'm an archer as well.
Sure.
But the whole thing about our Second Amendment isn't even about the hunting and things of that
Absolutely.
nature that you and I enjoy, or even going to the fire. You know, my daughter who died in the shooting, one of her favorite things. In fact, the last essay she wrote, I didn't even know she wrote it till I was going through her things after we were cleaning her room. Was about her last essay for her STAR test thing was about when her daddy went to the gun range and how she put all of them at 250 yards in the center, and how proud I was of her. So I do love we do love our firearms. My daughter, she did as well, and I do take that serious. But the real thing about the Second Amendment is that we were told that this is a way to protect ourselves from a tyrannical government. You can look at history around the globe, and we're not talking a long time history. We can look right now, Venezuela, Cuba. When you take away the right of the people to defend themselves, well, then power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. The government is going to come in. There's nothing to stop them from coming in and pushing their power upon the people. And our founding fathers, in their wisdom, because they just fought the British, said we can't allow this to be able to happen again. We need to make sure that we are capable of defending ourselves against those who have authority over us. And that's the whole purpose of the Second Amendment, is not even my hunting and my going shooting at the range. It's so that I can defend myself against any evil, foreign or domestic.
And you're absolutely correct, because a lot of people confuse the two. They think our Second Amendment is for hunting, and that is not the case.
That's right.
And their Second Amendment are founding fathers. And if you go back when they had just finished the War of Independence, because we fought the War of Independence, and when America had its first breath, gasp of air,
Amen.
they were 20, 22 years old, 23 years old. You know, Marquis Lafayette was 22 years old at that
That's right.
time, you know, more or less. And these individuals had just come out of fighting a war. They understood what we needed. They understood that the people were the ones that liberated America. And they thought it out.
Amen.
And they said, this is what we need. We need to arm ourselves. We need to arm our citizens for what? For a well-regulated militia in
That's right.
case we have a tyrannical government.
That's right.
That's what it's for. Or from somebody else invading us. Okay?
Absolutely.
And it also says there that our rights should not be infringed. And it saddens me, and it saddens a lot of people, that we have politicians on both spectrums, not only Democrats, you also have Republicans attacking the Second Amendment. Where are we coming from, you know? And it's sad.
You know, just the week before last, I had a conversation with a gentleman who said that my ideology of needing a way to defend ourselves against a tyrannical government was insane. He said, this is the 21st century. The government would never dare to do those such a things. But yet I would submit to you that already they are looking at taking away our rights. When they tell me that I can't call a man any longer, I have to use specific pronouns or allow them to, men to go into the same restrooms that my daughter is going to go into and things of that nature, and they start mandating these things, why wouldn't I believe that they would come in and tell me what I can and cannot do in everything if I could not defend myself against them? So the thought that our government is just all this pie in the sky, great, and you know, I wish I could say that was true, but people are people, and we all have an evil streak at some point or another, somewhere, somehow. And that's why it's so direly important that we keep checks and balances. And our Second Amendment is a big check and balance.
It's that check, you know?
That's right.
And it's sad to see many of them. And you start seeing right away, we've had some horrific events, like what happened with you.
Yes.
I mean, it's just horrific. Evil is evil, you know, and when does evil stop? When evil continues, when good men do nothing. And we have to stand up, and we have to stand up. And you're standing up and voicing that out there, and you're bringing others ahead. And may the good Lord help you and move forward.
But you know, let me intercede real quickly with what you just said there. Yes, we had the tragedy happen in our church, but look at what happened in White Settlement. Because of what happened in our church, that was neutralized in 6 seconds. How many, we're not talking about the spiritual lives saved, I'm saying physical lives were saved because there was a safety response team that reacted within 6 seconds to take out an active shooter. Why? Because the good guys chose not to sit back and not do anything, but they chose to step up and be what God called them to be.
You know, and that it takes me to a little point when, you know, I used to go to the old cathedrals and stuff, and especially when I was in France and studying, and used to go into the old churches and used to see the archangels, and used to see, well, they have weapons. Every single one of them had a sword and an axe, and understand what I'm saying? And these were soldiers, you know. And why did he give them weapons? Because our God understands that you're not going to win over by tolerance if you don't have a weapon in your hand. And that is something that the Second Amendment does. It gives us that protection, and we need to continue doing that. We need to bring that forward. It's unfortunate that we have evil in this world, okay? And we're always going to have evil. But what saddens me is the ones that claim to be protecting us are the ones that are stripping us from that right for us to be protecting us.
That's right.
And so that leads us to the red flag laws. And you and I have talked about it before. And we have leaders here, from our governor to some congressmen, that are going with red flags. And then they say, no, I didn't say that. Yes, I did say that. No, I didn't say that. But not only the Republican side, you also have the Democrats on the other side with it. Somebody has to be the adult in the room and say, you know what? What's going to happen? How do you feel about the red flags? And explain to us. There's a lot of people that do not understand what a red flag law is.
Well, you got to remember, anything in this country, again, I'm going to go back to our founding fathers, the way they devised this country, they understood that to have true freedom, then we have to be able to have due process.
Sure.
The innocent till proven guilty. With the Me Too movement and this red flag law and such, what we are hearing now, you're guilty till you can prove you're innocent. That's not the way our court system, nor the scripture or anything else was set up. You are innocent till proven guilty. Therefore, when you have red flag laws, you're stating that someone or some panel or some appointee or someone gets to call you guilty and then send out people to go and aggressively, if need be, take all your firearms away from you. Then you have to prove yourself competent before you can get them back. Now, anything that shortens out the due process is illegal, and it's wrong, and we should not. And that's what red flags do. They take away the right of an individual to be able to go through the same due process as everyone else. Now, if someone breaks the law, okay,
Of course.
fulfill and uphold the law. And if someone has a domestic threat of some sort, okay, now they broke a law. But until an individual breaks a law, you have no right to go in and strip their Second Amendment privilege from them.
And that's the way it is. But you have a lot of individuals that are not. You know,
I
you have a
agree.
lot of. We have to have men standing as men.
Amen.
Understand? And I'm going to say this, and might hurt a lot of people's feelings out there, but I really could care less. Listen, a lot of people are born males. It means they have two testicles. That doesn't mean that they're a man.
That's right.
Understand what I'm saying? So and so the men have to stand back up. We need those alphas to stand leading our different cities and different communities, and you have to stand up.
But you know, we've been socialized in this country for at least the last 30 or 40 years to eviscerate manhood, to tear down manhood in the claim of equal rights or equal name recognition, equal this or equal that. I am all for a woman doing whatever she can do as long as she reaches the same bar as the man. But if you lower the bar for the men so that the women can get in, you just eviscerated that manhood. When you keep putting men on TV and in the movies as buffoons and they can't carry out the everyday tasks and duties of being a father and being a provider and being that warrior, all you're doing is eviscerating it. The more you try to tear down manhood and promote that's really the real thing that's being promoted when you try to take apart the gender idea, is that men should not be the head of the family anymore. Men should not be the head of the household. And that's what we were wired to do. Women are loved and are created equally with men, but we have our role, and our role was to stand up and spearhead and be the protectors of everything that's right. And unfortunately in this country we've allowed the socio-ideology that men need to be drawn down and women lifted up because it's only fair. One thing, nobody ever said that life was fair. Secondly, just because I want that your sign over there to be blue is not going to change the fact that it's a yellow sign and it's your sign and you want it to be yellow.
Absolutely.
A fact is a fact.
No, you're correct on points. And what I see is this: there's a lot of great women leaders. Okay, you know, great women that raise kids left and right. We have them every day.
Amen.
We had our grandmother was taking care of us because our parents worked, or our mom was there taking care of us when we got back from school. We have great teachers the majority of them are what? Women educators. So women are educating men, period. The problem that I see now is when we were growing up and somebody pushed you, when you pushed them back. Now, if you defend yourself, you're in the wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Understand?
Absolutely.
And you know, and coming from, I've been in the streets, and I've been just like you have, and sometimes you had to bloody those knuckles, and sometimes you stood up for those that could not defend themselves.
Amen.
Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. People say everybody's created equal. No, they're not.
That's right.
Everybody has the same equal rights. Rights and everybody being equal are totally two different things. Or else everybody would be as rich as our president if everybody was created equal.
That's right.
Understand? Everybody would be a politician. No. People are made different. But the rights need to stay the same.
Every one of us has a different testimony, and our testimony of who we are today is what our life has brought us through.
Sure.
I get told many times, well, you don't act like a pastor. You don't strike me as a pastor. Why? Because you have a foregone conclusion as to what a pastor is supposed to be. I'm supposed to uphold the scriptures, and God designed me and created me like I am. You look in the Bible, you got Peter and you got Paul. One's an academic and the other's a warrior. You know, you were mentioning a while ago about the swords in the hands of the angels. people try to throw at me, well, Jesus wouldn't want you to have a firearm. Well, if you think about in the Garden of Gethsemane, he got on to Peter for cutting off the ear. He didn't tell him to throw his sword away. He said, put your sword away. He didn't say get rid of it. This isn't the time right now, in other words. And like you said, some of us grew up on the streets. Some of us have different testimonies. Some of us came out of I was a scrapper when I was young. I don't try to hide that. I told my church before I ever ran, I said, if my opponent wants to go back 30 plus years, she'll see that I was a different kind of person than I am now. But it also is what made me into the man I am now, to where, such as at our shooting or whatever, I can stand up and fight that battle. Because it's who I am. It's what way God designed me.
Absolutely, and also, you might correct me on this, but in Luke it also tells them to go what? Sell your
That's
clothes.
right. And get you a
Get a
sword. That's
I
right.
mean, what more is that's what Jesus' words. So if you do not have a sword, sell your cloak and go get one.
And Nehemiah 4, he said, when he's working, he says, first I pray, but then I set a guard at the gate. It's just common sense. God gave us common sense. And we try to rationalize how not to use it, which is ludicrous to me. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, we wish you the best, and we got a couple of more months, but early votes a tag. I think right here you have to go out there and shake some more hands and move along and just be yourself as the way you've been doing, because I think that's what's great about it.
Paul, I am blessed not to have a primary opponent, but I have believed, as it did in church or anywhere else, this is going to be the same for me. Show up, show up, show up. People need to know I'm approachable. And that's what I'm trying to do is, if you need me, I'm here.
Absolutely.
In this day and age, 3 hours down the highway is no big deal.
No, you're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. And you have a huge district, and your district goes from where to where?
All the way from Austin. I got a little bit of Austin, a little bit of San Antonio, and it comes together all the way down here to Laredo. I got Webb County, Zapata, Star, and everything in between.
You have Cotula?
I do.
You have
I do
Cotula,
have
and
Cotula.
you have Three
I got
Rivers and all there?
Hebronville, Three Rivers, absolutely. I got
So
all
it kind of cuts across Three Rivers free all the way down to Hebronville?
I got them. Yes, sir. That's all within this precinct. In this district, and I'm trying the hard as I can to let people know that here's my phone number. You can give me a call. The great thing, we live in the day of technology with emails and texting. It's not like the old days. You didn't have to wait on the marshal to ride in once a month.
No, absolutely, or the pigeon to fly in.
That's right.
But we wish you the best.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you. And folks, remember, exercise your right to vote. That's the only way we can be heard.
Amen.
Till next time.
Frank Pomeroy, Senate District 21.
Till next time. Peace.
Awesome.
The following political paid advertisements do not reflect the political opinions of the program or its associates. Any political campaign or candidate who wishes to purchase advertising can do so. Advertising is open to all on behalf of Gloves Off.